She is a psychiatric epidemiologist specializing in behavioral health research in U.S. active duty military. During her 23 years in the field, she's been responsible for high-profile surveys, systematic reviews, and clinical research, to include her team's seminal publication showing the effectiveness of a treatment called stellate ganglion block for symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder in service members. She lives in the Triangle with her husband and 3 dogs. Give it up for Kristine Ray Olmsted.
Do I have commos? Okay. Thanks very much for having me here. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to speak with you today. I was told to hold this like a rock star, so hopefully this is, and I feel bad having my back to some of you, so I'm going to try not to die here. Oops, is that the right? Ooh. Oh, I'm holding it upside down, that's why. So, my name is Kristine Ray Olmsted. I'm a psychiatric epidemiologist, and I'm going to give you a very brief definition of what that means in the hopes that that will help you have a better understanding of why I'm standing here before you today talking about community. So, epidemiology, the root word is epidemic. Many of you have seen the movie with Dustin Hoffman, Outbreak. They're studying the cootie that's, getting out all over the place and killing everybody. So I like to say that doctors, physicians study health in individuals. Epidemiologists study health in populations or communities. So in my case, my population of interest is active duty service members, and my substantive area of expertise is in psychiatric and mental health disorders. So put it all together, mental health and psychiatric conditions in active duty service members is what I research. I'm going to try desperately to get through this without tearing up. That's my dad. Stephen Thomas Ray, 101st Airborne, 1st Battalion, 327th Infantry Echo Company, Mortars. He was on the very front lines in Vietnam in 1969 and 1970, and he is the reason I do what I do. Uh-oh. Okay. So, hopefully that'll, yeah. We desperately need effective and fast-acting treatments for post-traumatic stress disorder in the general population and particularly in service members because it's a high prevalence condition in service members. Lots of people have it. The chance is very, very high that you know somebody with post-traumatic stress disorder. The good news is that there are treatments that are available. The bad news is that there are problems with those treatments. Psychotherapies, talk therapy, have a tendency to have high rates of dropout because they ask people to relive very painful memories. Medications always come with side effects, and nobody wants to do anything with that. So lots of dropout. It's important to note there that it's complicated. It's not just PTSD with service members. There's an extremely high overlap between PTSD in service members and other behavioral health conditions, such as nearly half also suffer from depression, and more than 1/4 also suffer from alcohol use disorder. So the burden associated with service member PTSD is tremendous for not only themselves, but also the communities and families around them. Uh-oh, did I break it? Next slide, please. There we go. So there's a procedure called stellate ganglion block. Some of you may have heard of it before. It is an injection in the neck. Right around here, right around the C6 level of the neck, a small amount of a local anesthetic like the Novocaine you get at a dentist is injected into a nerve bundle called the stellate ganglion. The stellate ganglion is poor and overworked and very tired in people with PTSD. The stellate ganglion helps govern, if you will, the action of the fight or flight symptoms, fight or flight system of the central nervous system. So this anesthetic briefly numbs that ganglion nerve bundle. Word on the street is it doesn't hurt. Which is always nice, because if you're going to go poking somebody in the neck with a history of trauma and they're already traumatized, let's not hurt them further. So in January of 2020, my extraordinary team and I were thrilled to publish the first multi-site, large-scale study showing that stellate ganglion block is, in fact, an effective treatment for symptoms of PTSD in service members. We were very proud to come up with, to be able to publish those findings, because the impact that we knew those findings would have on the surrounding communities, the military communities, was going to be significant. So, what does all this have to do with the community? Merriam-Webster defines community as a unified body of individuals with a common history, social, economic, political interests. The mission statement of the United States Department of Defense is to provide the military forces needed to deter war and ensure our nation's security. So service members with PTSD are, and other mental health conditions, represent a population, a community, if you will, of individuals who feel alienated from their respective communities, be that the military community, be it their neighborhoods, their families, the community of Americans, whatever the case may be. These individuals don't want to be a burden to their communities, and so they very frequently suffer silently, don't ask for help, and then a whole long cascade of bad stuff can happen. The good news is that there are emerging treatments such as stellate ganglion block that can help those service members return to their families, return to their communities, and get back to the lives that they are really wanting to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kristine. Questions for Kristine? Go over here.
Hi. Is it a one-time treatment, or is this something people have to come back for?
It's an outstanding question. The answer is yes, both. The protocol that we studied consisted of 2 stellate ganglion blocks, one each 2 weeks apart. There's a whole plethora of different protocols out there that people are now starting to implement and fiddle around with and kind of see what's best. We have a currently ongoing study that is looking at things like, what is the symptom trajectory over time? How many are people getting, and at what intervals, and how much better are they getting? So that remains to be seen. But something like, I think 20% of individuals are a one and done. They get 1 stellate ganglion block. Their symptoms are significantly ameliorated forever. Other people get them every 3 or 4 months, whether they need them or not, just for like a little top up. So it's highly variable.
Did you have a question? You can ask my question. Oh, okay. Other questions for Kristine? We'll go back here.
Hello.
Hi.
Would this treatment also work on CPTSD and PTSD from like toxic work environments?
Yeah, that's an outstanding question about PTSD, which is complex PTSD. The answer is yes. In our research and in other research that's been conducted to date, very little of the research has been restricted solely to things like combat exposure. So the evidence suggests overwhelmingly that stellate ganglion block is in fact an effective treatment regardless of trauma type. That's a really good question, because some treatment modalities have been shown to not be as effective with certain types of traumatic exposures.
Hi. What's the process to get this approved through the VA? These type of new treatments. I'm sure it's a long answer, but is that something you've experienced?
I will try to be brief. It's extraordinarily complicated, as you alluded to. Pardon me. More research is needed. My colleagues and I are undertaking that. There are currently, as of this morning, 8 studies around the country enrolling for additional research. It has to go through review once every 5 years. The Department of Defense and VA does a review panel for what are called the clinical practice guidelines, which is basically the accepted treatments for a given condition. They just published theirs this year, so we have another 5 years to wait for the next one. But basically, a whole lot of research and a whole lot of, it's not just clinical research, it's also economic research. How much does it cost? And it's going to cost a lot of money to be able to get it as a treatment for those who need it, either in the DoD, the VA, or the civilian population.
What are the side effects?
So the expected side effects of the procedure are called a Horner syndrome. It includes constriction of the pupil, droopy eye, and red eye on the side of the injection, which is generally the right side. That is an expected side effect. That means the doc hit the mark. You want to have that. Other than that, there are very, very few side effects reported. There are, like any other procedures involving needles, there are potential complications. In the hands of a credentialed and highly experienced provider, they are extraordinarily safe to the effect of less than 0.07 per 10,000 stellate ganglion blocks conducted.
Thank you, Kristine. Great information.